What's up, guys? We back with another video today. We're gonna talk about drum layering. Now, full disclosure, I'm a drummer. I love drumming, drum layering. Anything about drums just gets me hype, honestly. Like, I love drums. But the thing that I discovered the hard way was just because you're a good drummer doesn't mean you're a good drum producer. That's the lesson I had to learn. Being a good drum producer involves more than just playing the drums. It definitely helps, but the thing that's missing for a lot of people who are drummers, or who are not even drummers but can just good at programming drums, is layering, right? Layering adds that extra human-like quality, because when you're dealing with programmed drums, it's easy for it to sound robotic and just weak and not cool, not sexy. We want sexy drums, right? So to get sexy drums, you got to add a lot of layers, add a lot of different things that may not be heard but are felt. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in depth as we get into the video. But just remember that just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it's not doing a job, right? Like, there's a lot of things within drum production that are like that, where you don't necessarily hear them in the arrangement, but without them, you can feel their presence when they're taken out. So let's go in. Let's just get into it. Now let's talk about drum loops real quick. I know that there's a lot of people out there who say drum loops, oh, never use them. You're not a real producer if you use drum loops. You're just using somebody else's drum loop that they made, and you're not a real producer if you just use drum loops. I say that's bullshit. Honestly, I use drum loops all the time. I would say not in every song, but like 50-50. Maybe once every 2 songs I use a drum loop. I use them quite a bit. So I don't have a problem with people using drum loops. I have a problem with people using drum loops out of the box, and that's it. Like, I have a problem with you just taking a drum loop and throwing it in and be like, okay, that's my drums. No, that's not how we do it, okay? You gotta at least add some stuff to it, thicken it up, make it your own, modify it in some way, just to make it your own. Don't use this prepackaged drum loop that somebody else made by itself. Use it, add stuff to it, make it part of your whole drum arrangement, right? So let's get into it. This song, I started with a drum loop, right? And my first number one point in this video is just use sounds/loops that sound good out of the box, right? Like, the key to drum layering is using great sounds so that you don't actually have to layer. Like, the less you have to layer, the better, because you just chose a great sound right out of the box, right? That's the key. So this is the drum loop I started with, which is a pretty good drum loop to start with. Here it is. Right? Like, that's a pretty solid drum loop, okay? To start out with. So starting from this, how I built the drum loop is I next went to, well, let me just play you the full thing first so you see the end product. So that's what it sounds like at the end, right? Pretty thick, pretty full, groovy, juicy. It's got a lot of stuff going on. So starting from this, right? This was the original loop. I just have it low cut. It's like a hi-hat and a snare and like a little breath thing at the beginning. Right? So then the first thing I did to add was the kick, right? So I got this kick in here. It's a nice solid kick, right? Nice fat punchy kick. And I didn't layer like 7 kicks on top of each other to get this. Like, I just used one kick. That's mainly what I do, honestly, with all my songs, is I don't fuck around with layering all these kicks and stuff. I mean, sometimes on occasion, but usually I just pick great samples that I like the sound of, that sound good already, and I just roll with that. What I do though, when it comes to the kick layering, is I will layer another instance of it. So what I've done in this track is I have the normal kick, right? And I actually shortened it quite a bit, as you can see down here. The normal kick is a lot longer. So this is what it sounds like. I'm just gonna play the whole drum so you can hear it in context. So in the context of the song, right? This is the full kick drum. And this is what it's shortened. So it just gives the track a little bit more groove, right? Like, let's listen to it again here. When the kick is all long like this, it gets in the way of like other stuff that's happening. So I shortened it. I end up doing this a lot. So it's just like a very short, tight, punchy kick, right? And then another thing I do with the kicks is I have this little sub layer, right? So basically what I did, I duplicated the track, same exact track, and then I just took an auto filter and filtered out all of the high frequencies. So I just got the sub frequencies in here, right? Like, so just the let's just solo the kicks right now. So you hear how that sub kick is just kind of driving the rhythm a little bit, right? It's not something that you would hear in the full arrangement, right? Like how I was talking about earlier. In the full arrangement, you're not going to hear the sub kick unless you're like in a club or something listening. Then you'll feel it, right? It's more felt than heard. So without it, let's play the whole drums just without the sub kick. Sounds okay, but with the sub kick, it has a little bit more groove, like on those upbeats, you know. Because house music's been around for a long time, and there's so many songs with just a single kick going the whole time. This is like a way to switch it up and then actually like drive the rhythm along, and so that the kick rhythm doesn't get boring. Because when you're in the club, you're feeling the kick the whole time, right? You're just That rhythm can get very monotonous, trust me, when you're in the club for like 5 hours or whatever. So definitely like use this to your advantage. Just duplicate the kick and have a little sub layer. Filter out all the high frequencies like I've done here, and then just add that little bounce to it. You know, it's a really good way to spice up your kick drums. So next thing, so let's play what we have so far. We have this drum loop, and we have the kick, right? Okay, not a bad start. So what I wanted to do next is add a little bit of claps. So there's already a clap in the drum loop itself, but I wanted the clap to be a little bit brighter, right, and stick out more. So I added 2 more claps. I'll just play the clap by itself real quick. So it's like this like high frequency brighter clap, right? This because the one in the drum loop is a little bit dull, right? It's not very bright. It doesn't really punch through the mix that well. So I got these 2 other claps which are more bright. So this bottom one is a little bit more mid-rangey and like tight, and this top one is more like high end. Right, it's up there. So combined together, they sound like this. And with the whole drum loop and with the kick, it sounds like this. Right? So we got a nice groove going right now. And without the claps, it just doesn't hit the same, you know? With the claps, it just gives it that extra little high frequency energy to it that pops through, you know? And then, so again, the original drum loop had hi-hats in it, but I wanted to add some more hi-hats because I felt that it would add to the groove. So I have this open hat that's on top of the original. The original one is a very dark hi-hat as well. So I added like a brighter open hi-hat on top of it. You hear that? It adds like a little bit of sizzle. right? And then, so this is another thing that is more felt rather than heard, but I have this this shaker, or it's actually like a tambourine kind of loop thing. It's like this, right? This little texture. And now what this sounds like in with everything else that we've added so far. So this is without the shaker, right? Here we go. You see how much motion that adds and like groove? Without, it's like, okay, boring. So I'll have sections that alternate, right? Like the A section will just be without the shaker, and then in the next section because drum layering is about arrangement as well, right? Like throughout the arrangement, you're going to be putting things in and taking things away to make the track more interesting and keep the energy going, right? So in the parts that have more energy, I'm adding this tambourine in to kind of move the energy along and pick up the groove a little bit, right? So when you add that, you won't hear it in the full track, but you'll definitely feel the groove and you'll feel the energy picking up, right? So that's a good way to kind of move the energy along in your track, is if you have like a little drum loop that you've been doing that's been going on for a while, add some more percussion, add a shaker, add some more groove to it, right? And another example of that right here is I have this little like breath thing. So if you guys remember in the original sample, there's like this little breath at the beginning that I thought was really cool. So I'm like, what if I added another breath in, like on the upbeats to make it like groovy? So I added this little this breath sample right here. That's just like, and with the drum loop, it sounds like this. And it's low in volume, so you're not gonna hear it in the track. Like if I just play the full drums, it's a little bit harder to hear, but you can definitely feel it, right? So it's complementary to that drum loop. All the sounds so far have been complementary to that original drum loop and just building off that and making it my own, right? So that breath is also another thing that adds energy and adds groove, right? So that's pretty much my full drum loop, right? I have now this whole thing. And the arrangement is just adding and taking away these elements. So I have this other section where it's just the drum loop with the claps. And then the higher energy part has everything in it. The open hi-hat, the shaker, the breaths, right? And the sub kick. So you see how all these things add energy and add movement. That's the most important thing, right? Like, don't just take these drum loops and out of the box and say, okay, that's your drums. Like, you want to layer it and you want to add groove, add energy, right? Add things and taking it away. That's pretty much all arrangement is. And when it comes to drum layering, that's the most important thing you can do. Also, obviously, with the claps, you know, adding high frequency energy and just like having a clear picture in your head of what you want the drums to sound like, and then just going and getting that particular sound. Like I said, the original drum loop was a little bit dark. I wanted to add some brightness. So I took these claps and added them in. Listen to without the claps. It sounds okay, but I'm like, you know, I want that clap to punch through a little bit more. Now it sounds full. And now you can hear that groove, right? Remember how I was talking about the kick, how I shortened it? Listen to the full track with the kick just like in the original length, right? The kick's too long. Now when I shortened it, the groove fits much better. The bass has more space to maneuver. You see, so right? In professional drum production, there's so much stuff that is felt rather than heard. So don't be afraid to put stuff in, even if you can't necessarily hear it. Like the average person won't be able to hear it. They'll hear it like subconsciously. Like subconsciously, people hear stuff all the time, but they won't be able to say like exactly what it is. Like these breaths, the sub kick, all this stuff is subconsciously adding to the groove, but it's not like the main focus. So I hope you guys took a lot of this from this video. I know it was kind of rambling a little bit, but I get really excited about drum production, as I told you, because I'm a drummer. But I hope you guys took a lot from this, and if you found this video helpful, leave a comment. Definitely subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.